The Bedford Spirit, the place to hear about teaching and learning in our school. Thank you for joining us for episode 2. Today we want to talk about pastoral care at Bedford. To launch our new email contact groups, we've gathered together some of our pastoral team to talk about a few pastoral issues. So at Bedford, we have a team of pastoral guidance officers, one member of staff linked to each year group. So representing year 7, we have Miss Marsh.
Hello.
In year 8, it's Mrs. Hazelden.
Hello.
Year 9, it's Mrs. Smith.
Hi.
Year 10, it's Miss Mayers.
Hello.
And in year 11, it's Miss Marshall.
Hello.
Now, all of our PGOs are parents as well as PGOs with children in every phase of their education. So they're well qualified in their roles in school as school mums or school dads. So, Miss Marsh, could I start with you then? How are year 7 settling in?
Oh, the year 7's settling in brilliantly. They've really loved joining all the different clubs we have here to offer at Bedford. And it's been a great way for them to find new friends, obviously starting here at high school.
Any successes so far?
So at Bedford, we use a platform called Class Charts. This is where we give spirit points to all of our students. We do bronze, silver and gold. So for every 100 points in each of our spirit virtues, you go up to the next level. Lots of our students have already joined the 500 club just before Easter.
And I saw on social media there was lots and lots of year 7s represented getting those certificates last term, weren't there? It was lovely to see. Now, Mrs. Hazelden, you've seen many students come and go from Bedford.
Yeah.
What do we do to support our young people if they need help?
Well, we try our best to communicate as best as we can with home and with our students. We are aware that young people need to talk sometimes, and we try our best to be available at break and lunch. All our students know where their PGOs are all the time. And also we do try to encourage resilience. We try to help our students to, be stronger and to cope better with things. But we just want to be there and let them know that we are there for them all the time.
Absolutely. Now, mobile phones have hit the headlines quite a lot recently. In the headlines, the mobile phones in schools, there's obviously the ban of mobile phones in England now in force across the country. Mrs. Hazelden, do mobile phones have a place in school?
Absolutely not. Mobile phones can be a tool for bullying, and we see this sometimes in school, and it takes up some of our time. Many students also find them a distraction in the classroom, and just to the part of the day, it can be disrupted with issues that have gone on outside of school that are brought into school. So we try to encourage children to either leave them at home, or we know parents want them to be safe, so keep them in your bags, keep them switched off. And also practice digital detoxes. It's really helpful, even if it's just for an hour or so each evening, especially before bedtime. We really promote that our students have a good night's sleep. It's really important.
Absolutely. So, Mrs. Smith, year 9, tell me about uniform at Bedford.
We do have quite high expectations of uniform at Bedford High School, and they're not any higher than any other school. I think we're just on it a little bit more. Lashes and nails seem to be our main issues, followed by trainers. We do have rigorous systems in place for students that repeatedly bend the rules where possible, or just try to get around them completely. Fortunately, at Bedford, we do have a lot of parents that are really supportive, and they do crack down with us. I know I've had quite a few students that have come in, and when I've contacted home, they've said, well, when she said she wanted her nails done, she said, well, Mrs. Smith said they'll be all right if they're not dead long. No, our uniform policy is in place for a reason. There's no bending. There's no moving the goalposts. We as a team now actually do have a uniform that we wear. We have our t-shirts and trousers or skirts to try and set that example to the students that uniform doesn't just stop when you walk out of those gates on your last day in year 11. In working life, you will be expected to follow a uniform policy. How loosely that is depends on what sector you go working in. But it is an expectation throughout your life to dress appropriately and make sure that you're following the rules.
Thanks. And we see so many of our students wearing that uniform with pride as well, which is great to see. They present themselves really well at this school, don't they? So, Miss Mayers, I'm going to move on to you now. You joined us at the start of the academic year, and you are looking after year 10. The year group were just starting their GCSEs as you started working with us, didn't they? I know your children are of a similar age as well. So what do you think is the recipe for success in getting through that first year of GCSEs?
I would say getting into good habits with their revision, creating a study schedule, sticking to it as much as they can. Starting early in year 10, students will be able to balance their studies with their own interests and hobbies, and they will feel less overwhelmed and more confident going into year 11.
That's really helpful advice. Thank you. If I can now move on to the second year of GCSEs, Miss Marshall, you are looking up to our year 11s who are just right in the middle of their exams now, aren't they? In talking to students this morning, we're about at the halfway point. So what advice would you give to a parent who is helping their child on the final leg of their education in that last few weeks of GCSEs?
So it's really important to get enough sleep each night, to have a good sleep routine. So have a bath before bed or a shower, relax, no electronics before bed, and make sure that you're getting enough sleep. Also, make sure that you're in school in plenty of time in the mornings before school for your revision sessions. Make sure that you're bringing a water bottle to school every day to stay hydrated, especially in the exam rooms and the exam hall, as it can get quite warm. And also, manage your time outside of school. Have a good revision timetable and attend Strive after school each day.
Thank you, Miss Marshall. Brilliant advice there. So I'm going to wrap this podcast up now by asking you to the PGOs for their advice. So if you could give our parents one piece of advice seeing their children in an educational setting every single day, what would that piece of advice be? Miss Marsh, I'm going to go to you first.
I would say encourage your child to learn the timetable, maybe even colour code it. We are a big site, so I'd probably say like a different colour for L block, U block, and S block. Get your child in the routine of packing the school bag for the night before, and obviously encourage your child to attend.
Thank you, Miss. So moving on to Mrs. Hazelton.
Phones, I would say check your child's phone. Are they safe? Do you know what they're up to? And then put them away. Have some downtime. Encourage your child to find some off-phone activities and hobbies. Find some talent.
Thank you, Miss. Moving on to Year 9, Mrs. Smith, what's your advice? One piece of advice to parents of Year 9 children?
I don't think I can give just one, so I'm going to say self-testing, organisation and equipment. Encourage your child to challenge themselves, to test themselves, to be ready each morning when they get into school, to have the right equipment, to be able to identify areas that need improvement and to focus on that. The first thing that they're asked each morning within their form groups is what equipment they've got. So by having all equipment, they're starting the day off positively.
Thank you, Miss. Miss Mayers.
Try and get into the habit of reading for pleasure each night. Not only does this increase knowledge and vocabulary, it also helps to reduce stress.
Okay, good advice. Good reading habit helps us sleep better as well, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay, and Miss Marshall.
Have a routine for your homework and then later for your revision, and make sure that there's somewhere quiet for you to work.
It's great. So five very different pieces of advice there. And hopefully that has been helpful and useful to get to know those people who look after your children during the school day. So we're going to wrap up the podcast right there. I started by explaining that we have some new contact addresses to use in school. So you can now contact your PGO or your pastoral manager by using year, then the number, team, at, and then the rest of the email address is just the same as other email addresses in school. So it is year 7 team at bedford.wigan.sch.uk. So do use that contact address if you have any concerns or queries about school that you want to discuss with the year team. I want to say thank you very much to our 5 guests today. So there you have it. Thank you, ladies. And thanks for joining us today. Thank you to those listening, and we hope that you tune in next time. Bye for now. The Bedford